butterfly in the sky. I can go twice as high. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. I can go anywhere. Friends to know and ways to grow, a reading rainbow. I can be anything. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. A reading rainbow. A reading rainbow. A reading rainbow.
A butterfly in the sky. I can go twice as high. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow.
I can go anywhere. Friends to know and ways to grow, a reading rainbow. I can be anything. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. A reading rainbow. I can go anywhere. Friends to know and ways to grow, a reading rainbow. I can be anything. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. A reading rainbow. A reading rainbow. A reading rainbow. A reading rainbow.
Good morning, everybody. Silent Shelf, well done being first. Welcome. How are you? The Hobbit. There and back again. Let me get things in a place where I want them. Let's see. Maybe this is going over here. Sorry, I'm a little bit late. Today, actually, I don't really have a particularly good excuse, but I am coming out of an illness, so maybe more of an excuse than usual. Actually, here we go. Well, all right. So welcome everybody to another book club discussion. This month was Frederick's pick, The Hobbit. The cover of the book you have there looks like pizza. It does. Hell yeah. Smaug looking tasty. This is great. It's, you know, it's June, about to be July. It's like the accelerated reader program. Is that what that was called? Like the summer reading program? Did you have this at your school? I'm trying to remember how many books you were supposed to read over the course of the summer. And then we got like a personal pan pizza from Pizza Hut, I think it was. Like if you brought in all your proof of all the books you read. And there were like incentives at the school as well. So The Hobbit's kicking off pizza season. If we read 3 books this summer, June, July, August, if you read all 3 books, you get a pizza. I don't get you the pizza, I just encourage you to go get one. That's the program. I give you a allowance. You're allowed 1 pizza. Enjoy, indulge. And I'll do it as well. Silent Shelf, did you read this time? Did you read the book? Yeah, from Pizza Hut. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Like, I know I did it a couple times. I don't remember how many books it was. The number 30 popped into my head, but was it really 30 books? That seems wild. There's no way. Your school didn't do that? Hey, Emissary, how you doing? You didn't have that program? What grade was that? It was elementary school. Maybe into middle school? Hey, Fishy, how you doing? Welcome. Thanks for coming. Fishy, did you have a, I guess I don't know. Were you in Japan for grade school? I guess I don't know how long you were in Japan and like when you were in the US, but we're talking about the accelerated reader. I don't remember if that's what it's called, but like the summer program where like in elementary, maybe middle school, like if you read so many books, there were school incentives, and sometimes like, I think it was Pizza Hut, Silent Shelf validated that, they gave you like a little personal pizza if you read, I think you had to bring in like your sticker book or something like that. I'm trying to remember now. Elementary school was a mess. Everyone had wildly different reading levels. Oh, I'm familiar with that. Now on the other side of the classroom, I'm very familiar with that. Yeah. I didn't hear to listen. Maybe it will inspire me to eventually read it. Well, we are going to spoil it, but I hope we inspire you. I remember being angry because my elementary teacher was making me read like 100+ page books, and other students were being given like 10-page picture books. Oh, really? Did you enjoy any of those books? You were born and raised in Japan, but not your regular school when I grew up? Okay. So, your recent move to the U.S., that's your first time living in the U.S., huh? I'm curious how you're liking it. No, it made me think reading is unfair. Reading is very unfair. And I'm so sorry to say, Emissary, I've done that as a teacher. Spoiling is fine. Yeah, we're going to have to spoil it a little bit. Although, we're going to try not to spoil any Lord of the Rings stuff today. I feel like there's like one or two comments I would like to make. Maybe I'll just give you warning before I do. Nothing major, but just like as I was reading, like something hit me because I haven't read this in a long time. Coming back to it, like I don't think I've reread it since I saw the Lord of the Rings. I might be wrong about that, but anyway, like I don't think I've read it like with adult eyes. It's pretty good, different, but girlfriend makes it good. I'm glad to hear that. At my school, you had to get a paper signed from your parents saying you read the books. Then you drop the form off at a public library, and they give you the pizza coupon. I don't remember how mine worked. I remember going to get a pizza. I remember having a chart, like a little passport book with like stickers. Like, was my teacher giving me those, or like the librarian? I'm trying to remember now. I haven't thought about this in a very long time. What I have thought about in a very long time is The Hobbit. So, who read it? And those who read it, do you have any thoughts? My girlfriend says she remembers that pizza. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. You read? How'd you feel about it? Had you read it before, or was this your first time? It's a great read. It really is. It's so good. I loved it as a kid. You read it before? I read it in elementary school. It was never assigned to me. It was just like a friend of mine. Like I remember being in the library with him, and he's like, "Oh, you got to read this," and he like pulled it off the shelf. He's like, "This is the best book I've ever read," and I'd never heard of it before. And I took it home, and it was great. But again, it's just as good. It's so, like, what I kept coming back to is like how quaint and more like of a fairy tale it is than the Lord of the Rings. Like, it's just more, like a little more like sweet and innocent in ways. It's an encapsulated story. I forgot how quickly it moves. Like, I was coming up on stuff like, oh my God, we're already at like Gollum. We're already in Mirkwood. Like, I'm not even that far into the book. Like, just, there's no padding. Just events transpire, one after the other. Yeah, very, very fast-paced. It's a great, like, introduction into Tolkien, like, his world, for a kid, too, especially, but just, like, for anyone. I mean, this is enjoyable by everybody, but, yeah, there's, like, not, like, I have some passages pulled out. it does a great job of world building and giving you a sense of the larger world, but not getting hung up on a bunch of lore. It just really always comes back to the narrative and keeps you moving. Yeah. Let's get into it. And if anyone has any pages or passages they want to talk about, let me know. Otherwise, I'm just going to kind of skip through it like in order. And I'll look for places that I highlighted and had things I wanted to talk about. But maybe we'll just read the first page, and for those like Silent Shelf who didn't read it, give you a sense of the tone, the world, and our protagonist. You didn't read it? Never read The Hobbit? Do you like Lord of the Rings? Chapter 1, An Unexpected Party. In a hole in the ground there lived a hobbit. Not a nasty, dirty, wet hole filled with the ends of worms and an oozy smell, nor yet a dry, bare, sandy hole with nothing in it to sit down on or to eat. It was a hobbit hole, and that means comfort. It had a perfectly round door like a porthole, painted green, with a shiny yellow brass knob in the exact middle. The door opened onto a tube-shaped hall like a tunnel, a very comfortable tunnel without smoke, with paneled walls and floors tiled and carpeted, provided with polished chairs and lots of pegs for hats and coats. The hobbit was fond of visitors. The tunnel wound on and on, going fairly, but not quite, straight into the side of a hill. The hill, as all the people for miles around called it, and many little round doors opened out of it, first on one side and then on another. No going upstairs for the hobbit. Bedrooms, bathrooms, cellars, pantries, lots of these. Wardrobes, he had whole rooms devoted to clothes. Kitchens, dining rooms, all were on the same floor, and indeed on the same passage. The best rooms were all on the left-hand side, going in, for these were the only ones to have windows, deep-set round windows, and looking over his garden, meadows beyond, sloping down to the river. You do like it? Hell yeah. This hobbit was a very well-to-do hobbit, and his name was Baggins. The Bagginses had lived in the neighborhood of the hill for time out of mind, and people considered them very respectable, not only because most of them were rich, but also because they never had any adventures or did anything unexpected. You could tell what a Baggins would say on any question without the bother of asking him. This is a story of how a Baggins had an adventure, and found himself doing and saying things altogether unexpected. He may have lost the neighbors' respect, but he gained, well, you will see whether he gained anything in the end. That's another thing that hit me reading through this, is just like the conversational tone of the narrator through the entire thing. Like, you are addressed as the reader continually. Like, oh, well, you'll have to get to the end of the story before we let you know what that means. Or, now you didn't think that, now did you? You know, like, kind of, I don't know, like, assuming the reader's assumptions they're going to make and, like, saying something playful according to them. But the basic adventure is we have just like we have our Hobbit character, we have Bilbo Baggins, and you kind of got a sense of like a little bit of him thus far. He's just a homebody. He lives in the Shire. He likes having breakfast and second breakfast and afternoon teas and just living a quaint little existence. Not really looking for any adventures. When a wizard shows up at his door and sets him off on a quest to aid a bunch of dwarves in making their way to a mountain, their mountain, that has been taken over by a dragon, and recovering their lost treasure. And I want to say, I don't know, is it like about 3/4 of the book is the journey there? We like stop in Rivendell, a society of elves. We make our way through the mountains, through Mirkwood, very spooky. That's maybe my favorite portion of the book is Mirkwood, spooky forest where shenanigans ensue. Eventually they break out. They are imprisoned. They break out, and they make their way to the mountain, and they deal with the dragon, sort of roundaboutly. And they deal with the dragon, but ultimately the dragon is felled by not anyone in the primary party, basically using information that Bilbo figured out, that he has a weak spot, and it's the information is conveyed by birds to one of the men down in town. And they take down the dragon, and then they're all fighting over the treasure, and then goblins and wargs, these like wolf creatures, surprise attack them all, to get vengeance for. They're particularly angry because in their journey through the mountains and being imprisoned by the goblins, when they were breaking out, our party had killed the Goblin King. So they're out for blood, for vengeance. And there's a big battle of the 5 armies where all the elves and the men and the dwarves that had been fighting over the treasure forget the trivial nature of their dispute and come together, along with a little bit of help from the eagles, to take down the goblin threat. And it all shakes out in the end. Everyone gets what they want, except for Thorn. No thanks. And yeah, Bilbo saves the day on multiple occasions, and then makes his way home there and back again. That's like the basic outline of the book. So yeah, this is our meeting with Gandalf, a very important character. I think I highlighted this. So this is Bilbo just like hanging out outside, which is all he does. Smokes pipe weed and hangs about and snacks. Gandalf comes up in this first initial scene, and Bilbo says, "Good morning." And he says, "What do you mean?" He said, "Do you wish me a good morning, or mean that it's a good morning whether I want it or not? Or that you feel good this morning, or that it is a morning to be good on?" And I just pulled this out, like mostly kind of as an example of the general tone of a lot of the dialogue, particularly around Gandalf. Like, it's very playful. That's still going. And also, like, is Gandalf kind of insufferable? I never... You know, he's got such prestige, such gravitas, you know, in every scene, especially, like, seeing the movies with Ian McKellen. But then, just, like, you read that, it's like, dude... That's a long ad. If he just, like, I don't know, gets really pedantic and shit like that when I'm just trying to say good morning, like, that would be, he is an ass in The Hobbit, isn't he? Can you imagine, like, saying this to, like, your coworker or something? It's like, good morning, and then they just, like, go and it's like, oh, what do you mean good morning? Do you mean that it's a good morning whether I want it to be or not? You know, do you feel good about it? Do you think I feel good about it? Are you assuming? It's like, Jesus Christ, it's always with this guy. I don't know, whatever you want it to be, I gotta go. He just pushes shit onto other people. That's true, too. Yeah. It's funny, like, he kicks the whole thing off, and then, like, at moments... Like, I know he's dealing with the necromancer, but he's like, hey, this moment where, like, you really need me more than ever, good luck. I gotta go. But that allows Bilbo to become a hero, right? Oh, I think some of these, like, I didn't actually take notes this time. A lot of this I read, not gonna lie, last minute reread, and I've been very sick, and so some of this was read, not this bit, but the latter half of the book was really read in, like, the throes of, I think it's the adenovirus. I'm saying it Japanese style because they say adenovirus, but I think that's what I have. It's been raging around my schools. It's like flu-light. I don't think I've ever had this before. It was like, feels like the flu, but like just not as severe. So some of this was like read 10 pages and take a nap. Wake back up, try and read a little bit more. Gandalf, good gracious me. Not the wandering wizard that gave old Took a pair of magic diamond studs that fastened themselves and never came undone till ordered. Not the fellow who used to tell such wonderful tales at parties about dragons and goblins and giants and the rescue of princesses and the unexpected luck of widows' sons. Not the man that used to make such particularly excellent fireworks. I remember those. I don't remember why I highlighted this, but I like it. I don't know. I think I just love little, like, offhand references to events and, like, yeah, just things that, like, get my imagination going, but it doesn't over-explain it. That's kind of what I brought up earlier. Like, this book touches on so many things, like characters reference past events or abilities of other characters or just fun things about the world, and you're just kind of left with it, and it's not explained. And your imagination is allowed to just imbue it with whatever you think that means. And I really love that. That's one of my favorite things in, like, a lot of media. That's why a lot of times I don't like sequels or spin-offs a lot of times, because they over-explain or they take away the mystique. You know, this has happened with Star Wars, where, like, in the original trilogy, you just hear about, like, Clone Wars and different things like that, or, like, the camera pans over, like, some skeleton out in the desert. And you're like, what is that? And now we have, like, a full 3 seasons of television to explain what that was, but you know, in the first viewing, in the original experience, you're just left to, like, feel like this is a very big, strange, alien, wonderful world, and you don't understand it, but you want to know more, and your imagination fills in the gaps. I love that. Or they explain and they don't show. Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of that. I just like to be shown a little glimpse of something, you know? So they decide to have tea, right? Yeah. He's trying to get rid of Gandalf. And then after he kind of like goes inside, what on earth did I ask him to tea for? He said to himself as he went to the pantry. He'd only just had breakfast, but he thought a cake or two and a drink of something would do him good after his fright. Maybe I was just pulling that out as like a good encapsulation of Bilbo at this point. Also, I kind of like that. Oh my god, what a day. I think a cake or two might set me right. Maybe a drink of something. And what would you do if an uninvited dwarf came and hung his things up in your hall without a word of explanation? Oh, I think I pulled this out as like an example of what I mentioned before, where how often the authorial voice is very conversational with the reader. How would you feel if this happened to you? What do you think this means? You know, stuff like that. It's just very like, I feel like I'm being read a story, you know, by like old grandfather Tolkien or Uncle Tolkien, you know, just like we're around the campfire or something, and it's just very cozy. The vibes throughout are very cozy, even though like there's violence and horrific things happen, like nothing crazy. It always comes back to like, yeah, it's a very cozy tale. The dwarves show up. There's a bunch of them. They eat everything. They sing some songs. They talk about the adventure they're gonna try and get Bilbo to go on. Then something Tookish woke up inside him, and he wished to go and see the great mountains, and hear the pine trees and the waterfalls, and explore the caves, and wear a sword instead of a walking stick. Suddenly in the wood beyond the water, a flame leapt up, probably something lighting a wood fire. And he thought of plundering dragons settling on his quiet hill and kindling it all to flames. He shuddered, and very quickly he was playing Mr. Baggins of Bag End, Underhill, again. I like that. Probably a lot of us have. You have just like these moments of inspiration, or you have like a stray idea or something that just motivates you or inspires you in life. And a part of you wakes up that has been dormant. Maybe it's a part of you that you've, you know, accessed in the past, like a younger self. Or something you did that was maybe out of character, out of your comfort zone, and that can suddenly be woken up. But then if you don't seize upon it, you're back to just like enjoying the comfort of the fire. You're plain old Mr. Baggins of Bag End once again. I like that. If you have ever seen a dragon in a pinch, you will realize that this was only poetical exaggeration applied to any hobbit, even to old Took's great-granduncle Bullroarer, who was so huge for a hobbit that he could ride a horse. He charged the ranks of the goblins of Mount Graham in the Battle of the Green Fields and knocked their king Golthimble's head clean off with a wooden club. It sailed 100 yards through the air and went down a rabbit hole, and in this way, the battle was won and the game of golf invented at the same moment. I think that's very funny little... It's like moments like this that there's a definite connection, I feel, with Tolkien and then Douglas Adams with The Hitchhiker's Guide. Where it's just like very whimsical and funny and goofy, but then very clever. And again, like this is what it, like I was talking about before, it gives you a greater sense of the wider world. Like, you know that Tolkien has really, like, he's done the world building. He has this world figured out. Like at the time he wrote The Hobbit, it was less solidified because he went back and retconned some stuff, right? He was still working it out, as far as I know. Over the course of many years. But, like, you know, these aren't just, like, stray jokes. Like, it's actually linked to something, is meaningful, and yet is still clever and funny and kind of goofy on top of that. I like that. It's the perfect balance. So, they're discussing they hire on Bilbo as a burglar. That's right, said Gandalf. Let's have no more argument. I have chosen Mr. Baggins, and that ought to be enough for all of you. If I say he is a burglar he is, or will be when the time comes. There's a lot more in him than you may A lot more in him than you guess, and a deal more than he has any idea of himself. You may, possibly, all live to thank me yet. Now, Bilbo, my boy, fetch the lamp, and let's have a little light on this. I don't know why I highlighted that, but... Yes. He's a burglar. I had a thought maybe when I was reading that, and it has dissipated. Oh, yeah, I just love all the references to the necromancer. I think this is the first one, right? Your grandfather, said the wizard slowly and grimly, gave the map to his son for safety before he went to the mines of Moria. Your father went away to try his luck with the map after your grandfather was killed, and lots of adventures of a most unpleasant sort he had. But he never got near the mountain. How he got there I don't know, but I found him a prisoner in the dungeons of the necromancer. Just like the word necromancer is so evocative. You don't even need to really tell me anymore. You get little glimpses. You get like hints of this menace. It's like one of the reasons they can't go around Mirkwood. It's like, why don't, like, this is such a dangerous, never-ending forest. Why don't we just go like north or south? Like, well, north is like packed with goblins and shit. And in the south, those are the lands of the necromancer, you know? And just like, it never explains what the real conflict is down there, like what exactly he's doing. It's just like, it's the necromancer, capital letter, and like Gandalf has to ride off. At the end, you find out that like that's kind of why he had to leave, but you don't really know what he did with the other wizards. I love just leaving that to my imagination. So yeah. Dwarves leave. Bilbo oversleeps, wakes up, has a note, and he's supposed to go meet the dwarves to go on the adventure. Indeed, he was really relieved, after all, to think that they had all gone without him, and without bothering to wake him up, but with never a thank you, he thought. And yet, in a way, he could not help feeling just a trifle disappointed. The feeling surprised him. I thought that was a very good, like, I've had that feeling before, you know, just, oh, I don't really want to do this. I would love, like, for whatever, like, whoever's organizing this thing to, like, forget about it or whatever, because, like, this seems like a hassle. But then when that actually does happen, like, actually, I'm a little disappointed. Like, it was a hassle, but I kind of wanted the push to get out there and do that, you know? Like this. They kick off the adventure, and it's all just like, this isn't... Bilbo's like, adventures aren't so bad, you know? I forgot my pocket handkerchiefs, but I don't know. We're out here just like riding in the sunshine, fresh air. It's kind of nice. Maybe I like adventures. And then like the very first, is it just rain? I'm trying to remember. Oh, the ponies took fright and nothing and bolted. Oh, that's right. Into the river, and they lose a bunch of shit. Bilbo was sadly reflecting that adventures were not all pony rides in May sunshine. Do you think Bilbo is actually a white supremacist? No. I have no evidence of that. I don't think he's a supremacist of any race or species. He seems like he actually, that's one of his best qualities in the book, is how well he just like can go and talk to anybody. And like, he's out there making deals, like trading the Arkenstone, you know, like taking that behind Thorin's back and like what? He's able to yeah. Emissary's doing a bit. I lost my thought. Still sick. He's a friend of all, right? And that's like where the book ends up. And like later in the Lord of the Rings, like there is a scene in the Fellowship where I want to say like, I'm trying to remember now. Like he's at the meeting at Rivendell, and I want to say like someone defers to Bilbo, and there's like people are like chuckling, like you're not like, this is a joke, right? But then they look around. I think it might be Boromir. I can't remember. And he sees how like gravely serious everyone else is. Like, oh wait, no, you don't laugh off this Hobbit. Like everyone treats him with like immense respect because of how much he proved himself in this adventure, right? But at any rate, hobbits can move quietly in woods, absolutely quietly. They take a pride in it, and Bilbo had sniffed more than once at what he called all this dwarvish racket as they went along, though I don't suppose you or I would have noticed anything at all on a windy night, not if the whole cavalcade had passed 2 feet off. I like that. I like the just, you get like the vocalization through Bilbo, like, man, these dwarves are so loud, like, I'm a hobbit. I sneak around, like, on my little bare furry feet. Never hear me coming. But then it's like, oh, but yeah, that's all relative to the Hobbit. Like, for us, we wouldn't hear a thing from any of them. I think that's fun. That gives me a good sense of, like, the spectrum of their abilities. Yeah, meeting the trolls. Great scene. Just, you know, troll antics, arguing amongst themselves. One man meat, they want to eat that man meat. Catching Bilbo, catching all the dwarves, and then Gandalf, like, using trickery to get them to argue amongst themselves about how they're gonna eat the dwarves, boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew, and they argue bye-bye until dawn, and they all turn to stone. And that's like a very... We've seen this, like, I'm trying to think of explicit examples. If anyone has any, let me know. But, like, that kind of scene where, I don't know, our wily protagonist, like, gets the villain or the monsters or whatever, like, arguing, and then, like, either they get so caught up arguing, they're kind of like Looney Tunes them, right? They're so focused on their argument that they, like, our protagonist can, like, escape or sneak attack them or defeat them. I feel like this is a common trope. I can't think of any other examples at the moment, but I wonder if this is the earliest example of that kind of situation. I like that the magic in The Lord of the Rings is very nebulous. Yeah. Yeah, it really doesn't, for as much as it explains a lot about the world, more so in The Lord of the Rings, it doesn't really dwell on, like, the mechanics of magic, right? It kind of leaves it magical, which I like. You can see that Tolkien's interest was in languages. Like, oh yeah, we'll read a song for 3 pages. We won't know how this spell works, but we'll have 3 pages of a song. Yeah, there's no hard magic system in a sense. Yeah, Gandalf just sort of, like, you get scenes of him, like, almost like meditating in this one. I'm trying to remember now. I think it's during the Battle of the 5 Armies, right? I think Bilbo looks over and Gandalf is just, like, seated there, and it's like, oh, he's working up a spell. But a lot of times it's just like he slammed down his staff and, like, goblins, there was like a gunshot kind of sound, a crack, and then they fell dead. And that's about all you get. Okay, yeah, they come into the elf lands. No, wait. No, yeah, okay. And then Elrond is, like, telling them, because they got treasure from the trolls, and they buried some of it. They took along some of the weaponry, and so this is where they're finding out that, like, oh, that random ass treasure that you just took off those 3 trolls that you just stumbled upon in the woods, like, this thorn, the rune's name Orcrist, the goblin cleaver in the ancient tongue of Gondolin. It was a famous blade. This, Gandalf, was Glamdring, faux hammer that the king of Gondolin once wore. Keep them well. And I just love, like, I forgot, actually. I completely forgot that the sword that we associate with Gandalf, they just randomly found it. Like, I love that. It's so tied to him now. You know? He carries it, and then, like, oh yeah, how did, like, I don't know, you just, when you associate a weapon, a famous weapon, with a very important character in fiction, in fantasy, a lot of times you, like, imbue it with, like, it's got to have some, like, Arthurian legend kind of backstory, like, oh, this was the prophesied blade, he pulled it out of a stone or got it from a lady in the lake. No, they just happened upon some trolls and it was in the troll stash. Now it's mine, but it actually has a history. It's pretty neat. I love that. That's the story of The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings encapsulated. It's like these magnificent, like world famous but forgotten sometimes relics and weaponry and items. They're just like any other physical good. They just like bounce around the world. They end up in random people's hands. They get dropped in the river. They get washed away. They get buried for 100 years. They get unearthed. You can look into like there's so much lore around these, and it was just like in a sort of out of the way collection of trolls' stolen treasure, and then it ended up in the hands of a great wizard once again, much like the ring. I love the way, like, the journey of the items in this universe is very fascinating as well. They're almost like characters unto themselves, right? They move the world, and they decide a lot just so much by chance, like who chances to pick them up. Where are we here? Oh, this is right. Okay, they're hiking. They're in the mountains, right? It's storming. I think I just like this as a evocative image. Bilbo had never seen or imagined anything of the kind. They were high up in a narrow place, with a dreadful fall into a dim valley at one side of them. There they were, sheltering under a hanging rock for the night, and he lay beneath a blanket and shook from head to toe. When he peeped out in the lightning flashes, he saw that across the valley the stone giants were out, and were hurling rocks at one another for a game, and catching them, and tossing them down into the darkness, where they smashed among the trees far below, or splintered into little bits with a bang. And that's it. Like, it's mentioned again, but it's pretty much just like a one-off little scene and image that, again, just fleshes out, broadens the sense of the world. Like, and it's just a cool image. Like, you're just, huddled all together, like trying to withstand the storm and the night, and then you just, like, in the flashes of lightning, you see just giants getting up to shenanigans off in the distance. Cool image. They talked and forgot about the storm and discussed what each would do with his share of the treasure when they got to it, which at the moment did not seem so impossible, and so they dropped off to sleep one by one. And that was the last time that they used the ponies, packages, baggages, tools, and paraphernalia that they had brought with them. Does that a lot in this book. Like, I don't know that I highlighted all of them, but it's very frequent where it's like, and Bilbo walked, out of Rivendell. But no, that's not, it wouldn't be there. I don't know where else, but like walked out of this wood, and he would never see it again. Maybe not Bilbo, but just like you get that with certain characters. Like, and it's the last time they ever saw that, that elf village or that mountain or spoke to that person or whatever it is. And I just like you feel so safe in this scene, like, oh yeah, they found a little cave and they've got like their clothes laid out. Kind of like warming up around the fire. They're relaxing. They're even blowing some smoke rings and dropping off to a nice, cozy sleep. And that was the last time they ever used all their shit. Like, oh my god, shit's about to hit the fan. What's happening now? And the goblins break in and drag them all down. Gandalf gets trapped on the other side of the wall. And they're in prison with the goblins. And it's cool. Like, they get into some shit. There's a battle. They kill the Goblin King. I think this is just like a further addition to the previous point. This sword's name was Glamdring the Foe Hammer, if you remember. The goblins just called it Beater and hated it worse than Biter, if possible. Oh, actually, it's another idea similar to that point with, like, weapons and items having so much lore and being characters in themselves and just like traveling across the world. I love, it's not just weapons, it's like anything. It's Mount Doom, right? Everything is called something different in the differing languages, and you get a sense of like how elves perceive the world, how orcs perceive the world, how humans, how hobbits, right, based on like what they call environmental things around them or what they call the weapons, right? Just like, yeah, if you're on the receiving end of these things, you call it the foe hammer or you call it biter or beater. But then if you are the forger of these blades or the wielder of these blades, it has a more ornate name of importance, right? I love that. I love that it, again, we always come back to his love of language and world building, and I love getting the name of a mountain or the name of a sword in multiple languages, referred to in multiple ways. Yeah, and so when they're trying to escape, Bilbo is knocked down, gets knocked out, and then he wakes up. And this is the moment, like, I remember looking at it, it's like, oh my god, we're already at Gollum. Like, the book just moves. Yeah, depending on the culture of the races as well. Yeah, definitely. And very distinct, for sure. And sometimes you can even tie it down to, like, something like that. Like, oh yeah, they come out and say it. Like, this sword killed many goblins. We fear it. And sometimes you're just kind of left to wonder or intuit, like, why they would refer to it that way. And kind of, like, think about what it means for their worldview or their culture. That's a good point. Does anyone have a favorite riddle? So Bilbo awakens, he finds a ring, just a random ring. You don't know that it's much of anything at first. And then stumbles upon this, like, subterranean lake. And I'm going to read some of that because I think it's just, like, I love the Gollum scene. It's so creepy and weird. As a kid, it's like I am able to still remember the much more nightmarish creature that I imagined as a child before I had ever seen any Lord of the Rings. Like, the movies didn't exist then, or at least not like the live action ones. I just had gone into this book not knowing anything about how these characters and creatures are, like, usually depicted in popular, like, artistic media. So, like, as a kid, when I read about Gollum, like, I was really, I don't know that I was frightened, but I was imagining a very frightening creature. So it is a pool or a lake, and not an underground river, he thought. Still, he did not dare to wade out into the darkness. He could not swim, and he thought, too, of nasty, slimy things, with big, bulging, blind eyes, wriggling in the water. There are strange things living in the pools and lakes in the hearts of mountains. Fish whose fathers swam in, goodness only knows how many years ago, and never swam out again, while their eyes grew bigger and bigger and bigger from trying to see in the blackness. Also, there are other things more slimy than fish. Even in the tunnels and caves the goblins have made for themselves, there are other things living unbeknown to them that have sneaked in from outside to lie up in the dark. Some of these caves, too, go back in their beginnings to ages before the goblins, who only widened them and joined them up with passages, and the original owners are still there in odd corners, slinking and nosing about. Just an incredible passage. I love that. It's creepy and weird and get your imagination just, like, going. Man, like, what are the things that exist down in the depths of the world that even the goblins do not chance upon? I love that. Think of the mutated creatures that are down there. The time one for sure. That's a good one. Yeah. Did you stop and try? Maybe you remembered them all. Did you try and, like, figure any out before you read on, or were they all kind of obvious to you? I think there was one that I forgot the answer to, and I was, like, thinking on it. I'm probably gonna remind myself here in a second. So yeah, we meet Gollum. Do you think Bilbo secretly has a half-elf child in the world? He does love Rivendell, right? And he chooses to go back there for his retirement from the Shire. Do you think he, do you think he was going to see someone? I'd never get them myself unless it's like an easy one. Let's read a couple. I'll give everyone a chance to think. If you're just listening along, here are some of the riddles. So, like, Bilbo and Gollum usually would just, like, so Gollum has the ring, the one ring. You don't know that at this point, but that ring, in case anyone doesn't know, gives you the ability to go invisible, amongst many other powers. And so usually, like, he would just be creeping along, and anything that came into his area of control, goblin or just, like, stray creature, he would slip that thing on and just, like, strangle it and probably eat it. But there's something about something about a hobbit that makes him stop, you know? Later on, we'll find out. Spoilers. 3, 2, 1. That's Smeagol, Gollum, many, many years ago. Descended from hobbits himself, like a cousin of the Shire hobbits, right? If I have that right. So he's like, I love that in this book. I don't think you learn that at any point, right? Like, unless there was a stray phrase that, like, having that information, it didn't make me stop. But I don't think you get any of that. But I just love that, like, it makes sense now after the fact that, like, he would stop and be very curious about this creature because he's recalling his past self, the friends and family he used to know, and the appearance of this hobbit after all these years. What has roots as nobody sees is taller than trees. Up, up it goes, and yet never grows. Bilbo thought it was easy. The answer? Mountain. 30 white horses on a red hill. First they champ, then they stamp, then they stand still. Hey, Altizen, what's going on? Welcome. We're doing our monthly book club. So this month was Frederick's pick The Hobbit. So we're talking about The Hobbit. Are you a fan of this book or The Lord of the Rings in general? No, we don't need Google TV. And answer is teeth. So that was Bilbo's, right? So then Gollum comes back with voiceless it cries, wingless flutters, toothless bites, mouthless mutters. Some of these I had remembered, I think, because I was like thinking on that. I was like, oh yeah, wind. Oh, this is the one I could not. I couldn't figure it out as I was rereading it. It's like, wait, what is this again? I've forgotten. I don't know. I don't know what it is. An eye in a blue face saw an eye in a green face. That eye is like to this eye, said the first eye, but in low place, not in high place. I was like, what is going on here? And I don't know. I just couldn't like figure out what it. And that one's kind of weird, right? It's the sky and the specifically sun on the daisies. It means it does sun on the daisies. Like, okay, I could have maybe gotten to something close to that, but I never would have said that specifically. I would never get that. Yeah, that one's weird. They get weirder as they go. Like some is like that the wind one, voiceless it cries, wingless flutters, toothless bites, mouthless mutters. Like that's a great riddle. I feel like that's intuitive. It gives you the information you need. It's not too leading. It's one of those like after you get it, it's like that's how did I not get that? It's kind of obvious. You get that feeling, but like with that one, it's like okay, daisies in the sun. Sure. I mean, yeah, I see what you did there, but I wasn't gonna get that. It cannot be seen, cannot be felt, cannot be heard, cannot be smelt. It lies behind stars and under hills, and empty holes it fills. It comes first and follows after, ends life, kills laughter. It's another kind of tricky one, a little bit. Like, some of it, after the fact, kind of makes it obvious, but then you get these other, comes first and follows after, ends life, kills laughter, that can kind of lead you astray, but then if you know the answer, it makes sense. And it's the dark. That's a good one, yeah. This one I remembered. I remembered the eggs. A box. Sorry, I blew it. In case anyone was just enjoying trying to figure them out. A box without hinges, key or lid, yet golden treasure inside is hid. And this one stumps Gollum for a while, right? But then he has a memory of just sucking eggs, teaching his grandmother to suck eggs, which is just weird. But I guess illustrative bit of information about Gollum. Alive without breath, as cold as death, never thirsty, ever drinking, all in mail, never clinking. Survey says that's fish. That's fish. That's another really good one. And I like that it does a great job of like steadily ramping up Bilbo's anxiety and fear. Is like, oh my, it's getting harder and harder for him to answer these. And he just like happens upon these answers, like, because he just, what is it? He put his long webby foot in the water, a fish jumped out in fright and fell on Bilbo's toes. Like just by chance, like he wasn't going to get there on his own. It also gives that background for Gollum really well. Yeah. Oh, this is another one. It's like, I don't remember this. I don't know what you're trying to say. No legs lay on one leg. Two legs stand near on three legs. Four legs got some. It's like, I don't know this one. I thought on this one for like a minute or two. It's like, I don't know. Like, I was thinking like, it was reminding me of, is that in the Odyssey? What has 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs in the afternoon, and 3 legs at dusk? Is that from the Odyssey? I'm trying to remember. That riddle, and it's like, oh, it's a man, crawls as a baby, walks upright in adulthood, and then walks with a cane in the elder years. And I was stuck on that idea. It's like 3 legs, maybe a cane, 4 legs. Yeah, okay. So, yeah. But it was actually fish on a little table, man at a table, sitting on a stool, the cat has the bones. Which, sure. But again, like the daisies shit, like it's very elaborate. The more elaborate they are, like the less satisfying they are to solve or like get the answer to after the fact, you know? It just feels a little bit more like arbitrary and random. It's impossible. Some of these are like LucasArts or like Sierra point and click adventure, like not Moon Logic, but just like very, very involved solutions to a puzzle. They want you to buy the guide. Tolkien was actually selling those strategy guides. Like you hear a lot about like Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit and like the Silmarillion and all, like, you know, some of those tales, the Adventures of Tom Bombadil or whatever. But we don't talk about a lot is his 1799 Brady Games official guide to the riddles of the Hobbit, which he wanted you to purchase. He was trying to make a little money on the side. This thing all things devours. Birds, beasts, trees, flowers. Gnaws iron, bites steel, grinds hard stones to meal. Slays king, ruins town, and beats high mountain down. Again, this one I knew, but I think maybe I remembered it. Like, I think with all these, like, I don't really know if I figured any of them out on this reread. Like, maybe I just happened to remember some. Like, I had enough of a memory, and they were intuitive enough to, like, link the two, whereas, like, yeah, I just didn't remember the eyes and the blue face, and I wasn't going to figure it out on my own. But I think that's a really good one. I like that one a lot. So, yeah. Bilbo, they go back and forth, and then Bilbo gets real... He's so fucking cheap. What's in my pocket? That's his final riddle to Gollum. What's in my pocket? Which, that's a shit move. Just, like, as an objective observer, like, if we're judging this riddle off, like, nah, man, that's out of bounds. You gotta try again. I'm throwing down a flag or whatever on that one. Oh, okay. I was trying to figure out why I highlighted this. So, Gollum's trying to figure out what's in Bilbo's pocket. No, wait. Has Bilbo already run off? Yes. Okay. So Bilbo runs off, and Gollum's chasing him. Bilbo slips on the ring, not knowing that it's turned him invisible at first. So Gollum says, Goblin says, yes, but if it's got the present, our precious present, then Goblin says, well, get it, Gollum. They'll find it. They'll find out what it does. We shan't ever be safe again. Never, Gollum. One of the Goblins will put it on, and then no one will see him. He'll be there, but not seen. Not even our clever eyes will notice him, and he'll come creepsy and tricksy and catch us, Gollum. And I thought, like, this is the reason I highlighted this was, I think this is good writing where, like, a lot of times a writer would do this to explain, like, have a character talk to themselves, like monologue or something, just so, like, the reader knows what's going on. Because, like, as the reader, the first time you're reading this, like, you don't know what the ring is capable of. You don't know why Gollum just ran past Bilbo hiding in the passage, because he can see in the dark. How did he not just see Bilbo? We need to catch the reader up on what, like, the author knows. And a lesser author would just, like, say, like, I'll just solve this, like, simply. Like, we'll just have the character talking to themselves aloud, which is what he does here. But the reason it works is because, like, we've already established that Gollum has, like split personality almost, to a certain degree. like talks to himself in his loneliness, in his many, many years of isolation. It's already been established, and he just like is constantly talking to himself about everything and like saying things aloud. So it doesn't seem like contrived, like a contrived sort of author's trick to solve a narrative problem. It just feels natural, even though it is the same kind of thing. Like we're explaining to the reader what's going on, so they know the situation. I thought that was a clever way to make that work without it feeling contrived. So yeah, Bilbo escapes. Links back up with the dwarves. They've all escaped from the goblins. Bilbo now has a precious in his pocket. But then out of the frying pan into the fire, right? Then it's like they get run up the trees by the wargs. And it turns out like the wargs and the goblins are supposed to meet up in this area by chance. Like they're going on raids. They're actually planning on going down and murdering a bunch of people that have been like settling on the frontier of the wilds. Wrong place, wrong time. The goblins were late because the dwarves, they had all just killed the Goblin King. They run up the trees, like, it's pretty hopeless, and then they're saved by eagles. They swoop in and take them to safety. So ended the adventures of the Misty Mountains. Soon Bilbo's stomach was feeling full and comfortable again, and he felt he could sleep contentedly. Though really, he would have liked a loaf and butter better than bits of meat toasted on sticks. He slept curled up on the hard rock more soundly than ever he had done in his feather bed in his own little hole at home. But all night he dreamed of his own house, and wandered in his sleep into all his different rooms, looking for something that he could not find nor remember what it looked like. I like the beginning of this, because I've been there. Like, I don't know, like out on like multi-day cycling trips or whatever, or just like hikes, you know. Sometimes you're camping in like pretty bare bones conditions or whatever, but like, oh, sometimes out on the ground, cold, shivering, you sleep better than you ever slept at home on your, you know, really nice mattress. Because you earned that sleep. But then I loved that final image. I loved just being left with that, to wonder about that. Dreamed of his own house and wandering in his sleep to all his different rooms, looking for something that he could not find or remember what it looked like. Sometimes a lot of these like events, actions, images, you're just left to like wonder why you're being told that and what it means. It's not like, it doesn't spoon feed you. You just kind of like get to dwell on that image for a second and be like, why, what is he recalling, you know? And for some of them, they're kind of obvious. Like, oh, obviously, like, they're thinking of, you know, this ring, or they're like predicting this bad event that's about to transpire. And then sometimes it's a little more vague, and I like that. So this is when they stumble in on Bjorn's bear man, which I love. This is a very, like, again, just very whimsical meeting where like they just come in by twos, like little by little. Like, okay, we can't just like bring all of us, this whole party, into Bjorn's place all at once. Like, he'll reject us, and he is like, we got to watch it with him. He's a big bear man. Got to tread lightly. So they like get him really engaged in the story, and then just like bring in the meeting is great. I know it's just very fun, like how into the story he gets. Like they just bait him every time, you know. Is this a good example of that? Well, Gandalf said, very glad to see that his tale was making a good impression. I did the best I could. There we were, with the wolves going mad underneath us, and the forest beginning to blaze in places, when the goblins came down from the hills and discovered us. They yelled with delight and sang songs making fun of us. 15 birds and 5 fir trees. Good heavens, growled Bjorn. Don't pretend that goblins can't count. They can. 12 isn't 15, and they know it. Just like every time it's a response like that, like, wait, well, surely it's not 9 because there's only, 7 of you here or whatever. Like, oh, well, actually, speaking of, here's Beaver and Bofer, or, whatever. I also don't really know how to pronounce most of the dwarven names, so I'm sorry in advance. It's just very, like, fun and sweet and, yeah. Mr. Baggins saw then how clever Gandalf had been. The interruptions had really made Bjorn more interested in the story, and the story had kept him from sending the dwarves off at once like suspicious beggars. He never invited people into his house if he could help it. He had very few friends and lived a good way away, and he never invited more than a couple of these to his house at a time. Now he had got 15 strangers sitting on his porch. I love his character. He's like this immensely powerful shapeshifter, you know, like steward of the lands around him. Hates goblins. And is very like frightening if you're on the wrong side of him. And even when you're on the right side of him, you gotta like watch it. Like he gives them the ponies. He's like, you better not take those into Mirkwood. And then like they take the ponies all the way to the edge of the Mirkwood, and like they're like wondering, it's like, man, we would really like to take these ponies in, but we can't double cross. We can't like not make good on our promise to Bjorn. And then like as they let the ponies go, like they see like the sort of shadow of a bear like slink off. It's like, oh man, he was gonna like, what would he have done if they had taken those ponies in? He like just would he have killed them all? You can imagine him maybe going that far. Like maybe he would just have intimidated them and been like, if I ever see you again, like you're gonna be in my belly, you know? But I don't know. Like you just get a sense of like how fearsome he is. But then with just like such a sweet heart of gold, at times just like a big teddy bear of sorts. Oh, I think I just like this phrase. What was that in reference to? Ooh, we're gonna snooze some ads. Okay. Bilbo thought he knew what the wizard meant. What shall we do, he cried, if he leads all the wargs and goblins down here? We shall all be caught and killed. I thought you said he was not a friend of theirs. So I did, and don't be silly. You'd better go to bed. Your wits are sleepy. I like that phrase. Go to bed. Your wits are sleepy. You're done. Where'd you get that idea? That's so dumb. Again, just Gandalf is such an asshole. Just no nonsense. My classroom, there are no stupid questions. In Gandalf's classroom, what a stupid question, you idiot. Shut up. Go to bed. The adults are speaking. We're discussing our adventure. Why did I even bring you? Yeah. This is, so they're in Mirkwood, and I love Mirkwood. Like I said, it's one of my favorite parts of the book. It's just such a great, sprawling, creepy, never-ending, shadowy forest. I love a good, creepy forest, and this is a good one. It's like suffocating. They can't live at times for long whiles without the light of the sun. The nights were the worst. It then became pitch dark. Not what you call pitch dark, but really pitch. So black that you really could see nothing. Bilbo tried flapping his hand in front of his nose, but he could not see it at all. Well, perhaps it is not true to say that they could see nothing. They could see eyes. They slept all closely huddled together, and took it in turns to watch. And when it was Bilbo's turn, he would see gleams in the darkness round them. And sometimes pairs of yellow or red or green eyes would stare at him from a little distance, and then slowly fade and disappear, and slowly shine out again in another place. And sometimes they would gleam down from the branches just above him. And that was most terrifying. But the eyes that he liked the least were horrible, pale, bulbous sort of eyes. Insect eyes, he thought, not animal eyes, only they are much too big. Although it was not yet very cold, they tried lighting the watchfires at night, but they soon gave that up. It seemed to bring hundreds and hundreds of eyes all round them, though the creatures, whatever they were careful never to let their bodies show in the little flicker of the flames. Worse still, it brought thousands of dark gray and black moths, some nearly as big as your hand, flapping and whirring around their ears. They could not stand that, nor the huge bats, black as a top hat, either. So they gave up fires and sat at night and dozed in the enormous, uncanny darkness. I think one of my favorite details is the enormous moths. Like you get the stifling, like suffocating, like just dead-aired Mirkwood, but then just the image of like just complete darkness all around, and then just like these massive moths and insects, really like adds to that. Like it's the kind of life that you can encounter in a dead forest. Like it's obviously not a dead forest. There's shit all around them. They're watching the gleaming eyes. But it's like the kind of interaction you can have with another life form in like such a creepy forest and still not feel like you're any closer to civilization. Like you're still isolated. Sometimes stuff like that can make you feel even more isolated. Like the only things around me are just like these enormous moths. Otherwise it's just silent. They tried shooting at the squirrels, and they wasted many arrows before they managed to bring one down on the path. But when they roasted it, it proved horrible to taste, and they shot no more squirrels. I love that image, too. It's like, man, we can't even, like, the squirrels are just so nasty. Like, the meat, like, just to add to the sense of this nightmarish forest. Even squirrels taste bad. There was a greenish light about them, and in places they could see some distance to either side of the path. Yet the light only showed them endless lines of straight gray trunks, like the pillars of some huge twilight hall. There was a breath of air and a noise of wind, but it had a sad sound. A few leaves came rustling down to remind them that outside autumn was coming on. Their feet ruffled among the dead leaves of countless other autumns that drifted over the banks of the path from the deep, red carpets of the forest. Still Bomber slept, and they grew very weary. At times they heard disquieting laughter. Sometimes there was singing in the distance, too. The laughter was the laughter of fair voices, not of goblins, and the singing was beautiful, but it sounded eerie and strange, and they were not comforted. Rather, they hurried on from those parts with what strength they had left. Just more great images and atmosphere. And I love, like, being reminded of the seasons that are outside. Like, the forest is so dense and contained that you forget that it's autumn, because you're just, like, in this humid, just suffocating, stifling Mirkwood. They all looked, and a longish way off, it seemed they saw a red twinkle in the dark. Oh, we're going to snooze the ads again. I wonder if we can make it through. Maybe not. Let's see. The rest of the discussion. Then another sprang out beside it. Even Bomber got up, and they hurried along then, not caring if it was trolls or goblins. The light was in front of them and to the left of the path, and when at last they had drawn level with it, it seemed plain that torches and fires were burning under the trees, but a good way off their track. So yeah, I just love the image of them, like, finally succumbing to the temptation, like seeing the lights and hearing the fair voices and, like, running off wildly into the night, into the Mirkwood, off the path. They were told so many times, don't leave the path. Whatever you do, don't leave the path. They leave the path. And then they just randomly run just through the forest again and again and again, just like moths drawn to the flame, and get super lost. The smell of the roast meats was so enchanting that, without waiting to consult one another, every one of them got up and scrambled forwards into the ring with one idea of begging for some food. No sooner had first stepped into the clearing than all the lights went out, as if by magic. Somebody kicked the fire, and it went up in rockets of glittering sparks and vanished. They were lost in the completely lightless dark, and they could not even find one another, not for a long time at any rate. After blundering frantically in the gloom, falling over logs, bumping, crashing into trees, and shouting and calling till they must have waked everything in the forest for miles, at last they managed to gather themselves in a bundle and count themselves by touch. By that time they had, of course, quite forgotten in what direction the path lay, and they were all hopelessly lost, at least till morning. I love these scenes. They're kind of funny on a certain level, and like, oh my god, like when you just get the characters doing like the one thing they were told so many times not to do, but you feel the stress as well. Dead silence fell in the middle of a word. Out went all light. The fires leaped up in black smokes. Ashes and cinders were in the eyes of the dwarves, and the wood was filled again with their clamor and their cries. Bilbo found himself running round and round, as he thought, and calling. Dory, Nori, Ori, Oin, Gloin, Feely, Keely, Bomber, Beefer, Boofer, Dwalin, Balin, Thorin, Oakenshield, while people he could not see or feel were doing the same all round him, with an occasional Bilbo thrown in. But the cries of the others got steadily further and fainter, and though after a while it seemed to him they changed to yells and cries for help in the far distance, all noise at last died right away, and he was left alone in complete silence and darkness. Like you feel the weight of, in the darkness of Mirkwood around him. There was the usual dim gray light of the forest day about him when he came to his senses. The spider lay dead beside him. Oh yeah, he's attacked in the night by a spider and wakes up as he's being webbed. Just in time, cuts himself free and kills the spider. And his sword blade was stained black. Somehow the killing of the giant spider, all alone by himself in the dark without the help of the wizard or the dwarves or of anyone else, made a great difference to Mr. Baggins. He felt a different person, and much fiercer and bolder in spite of an empty stomach, as he wiped his sword on the grass and put it back in its sheath. I will give you a name, he said to it, and I shall call you Sting. So here we get the naming of the sword, and I just like that moment. Like, yeah, you feel the horror, like, oh man, he's all alone in Mirkwood. They're super lost. Where is everybody? And they're like enormous spiders. Shit. But you need your protagonist to have those moments, like the rock bottom of the adventure, to really like come into their own and find out what they're capable of. Great moment. So it turns out, yeah, the random little clearings that they're trying to run in on are wood elves. The feasting people were wood elves, of course. These are not wicked folk. If they have a fault, it is distrust of strangers. Though their magic was strong, even in those days they were wary. They differed from the high elves of the West and were more dangerous and less wise. For most of them, together with their scattered relations in the hills and mountains, were descended from the ancient tribes that never went to ferry in the West. There the light elves and the deep elves and the sea elves went and lived for ages, and grew fairer and wiser and more learned, and invented their magic and their cunning craft in the making of beautiful and marvelous things, before some came back into the wide world. In the wide world the wood elves lingered in the twilight of our sun and moon, but loved best the stars. And they wandered in the great forests that grew tall in lands that are now lost. They dwelt most often by the edges of woods, from which they could escape at times to hunt, or to ride and run over the open lands by moonlight or starlight. And after the coming of men, they took ever more and more to the gloaming and the dusk. Still elves they were and remain, and that is good people. I don't think I have anything specific about that one. Just, again, like these great moments of broadening my curiosity and sort of understanding of the world. Like, it leaves me with more questions than it answers, but, like, they're questions I'm happy to have. I can't snooze anymore, so we're just going to take a quick break, let these ads roll, and give my sickly throat a moment to... We're in, like, the back half of the book. We're just past halfway. I don't think I have as many notes in the latter half, so in case y'all do, I'm down for as long as the discussion needs to go. But this next bit might be a little bit shorter than the first bit. Yeah, so I'll be right back, and we'll finish out the discussion. So, see y'all in just a minute. Oh, and then we'll vote on the book. So if there's a book you want to suggest for or put on the wheel for next month, be thinking about that, because we're going to spin the wheel when we come back. So see y'all in just a minute. All right, thanks everybody for hanging around. So yeah, Mirkwood. Dwarves are captured. Everyone's captured except for Bilbo, who's able to sneak around the Elven King's domicile without being caught, because he can go invisible. I'm like a burglar that can't get away, but must go on miserably burgling the same house day after day, he thought. I like that phrase, because he can't get caught. I mean, he can get caught if he's not careful. Can literally get caught in, like, the gates as they're closing. He almost does a couple times, like, sneaking in and out because they're closing so rapidly that he's almost, like, caught in the doors. But I like the idea of, like, oh yeah, I can evade capture, but also, like, I'm stuck here. No one knows I'm here, and no one knows I'm here. And he's just gotta like survive off of like table scraps and stuff. And he soon realized that if anything was to be done, it would have to be done by Mr. Baggins, alone and unaided, because like his whole party is in prison. And I like just following up the battle with the spider with this. Like, he is gradually. I feel like the character of Bilbo it's expanded so well throughout the narrative. Like, you just get like really gradual wins, and you get that first, like, yeah, he's all by himself. Like, he has to take down the spider. It's like a moment of just stress and, like, survival instinct, right? And you could write that off as, like, yeah, any creature would find their depths of ability when they're being wrapped up by a giant spider and do what they need to do to survive. But it allows him to see what he's capable of. And now in moments like these, where it's less about, like, immediate adrenaline and survival instinct, like fight or flight, and more just like, there's a lot of things that he could do right now in this situation. Like, he could just say fuck the adventure and wander off if he wanted to. Like, it is something he is able to do. He's like, no, I'm capable of things, and now it's all on me. He's really becoming a hero in this middle portion. I like this too. There's a line in The Lord of the Rings. Again, I'm trying not to talk about that too much, but it's Frodo talking to Gandalf, right? I'm trying to remember the line exactly. Where he's like, I wish Bilbo would have killed Gollum. And Gandalf's like, it's pity that stayed Bilbo's hand. And you just see like that again and again, like some of his best humanist qualities. Empathy. The empathy of Bilbo. They're like, even in a situation like this, like, he steals the keys, like the guards get real drunk, and he's able to like sneak up and get the keys off and free all the dwarves. He brings the keys back and puts them back on the belt. There would be a different expression on the face of the chief guard next day, even though Bilbo, before they went on, stole in and kind-heartedly put the keys back on his belt. That will save him some trouble. Some of the trouble he is in for, said Mr. Baggins to himself. I love that. Yeah, it keeps his niceties, right? It's like, they literally put all my friends in prison. I've been trapped here for a very long time. I make a point, and I'm even putting myself in danger, right? Because at any point, I could, like, accidentally jingle the keys. And I could be invisible, but they can still hear me. And in bright light, see my shadow. They probably wouldn't see it down here, but I could get caught. I'm going to go through all the trouble. For what? Jesus, that startled me. Maybe I should pay for Spotify one of these days. Just to take the keys back. I love that. That's so sweet and thoughtful. And it's like a rare hero that would do that. Like, there's heroes that have empathy and humanity, but like, to go to all the trouble just to like keep a guard from getting chewed out, by his boss. That's something else. Yeah, so the plan is to like the cave, like little fort system backs up on a river, and they send barrels down the river, and so he puts all the dwarves in the barrels, closes them up, and like they unknowingly send the dwarves away by just like dumping the barrels to like make their way down the river, where they are collected down at like the lake town. And that's how they make their escape. And that takes us to, I mean, it's crazy because like, again, with like my memory of the book, I remembered like a lot of these events like looming so large, like Gollum and Mirkwood. And I remember them like, I thought they happened much later in the adventure and for longer. And then to reread, it's like, oh, all that happened in the first half of the book. We're like this is 62% of the way into the book. And like the things that I remember like not taking as long are like another whole entire half of the book, basically. Like dealing with Smaug and the Battle of the Five Armies and all that. So they make their way up to the mountain eventually. Like they're in the town for a while, outfitted on the last leg of their quest. As you can see, I don't have a lot of notes here. I feel like most of the points that I've noticed about like the writing style, the tone, the characters, like those have been established. I've found evidence of or excerpts already earlier on that like it would just be kind of redundant. And I think this is just like all the pieces that we put in place are just like ending up in a very satisfying narrative arc, like where they have been heading this whole time. It is, we're not even at the climax yet, but to me, like, actually the most interesting parts of The Hobbit, like all the bit with Smaug is great, and like it's no criticism of the book, like the Battle of the Fire Armies is great, but the stuff that I find most interesting and memorable is actually the stuff we've just talked about, like the meeting with Gollum, Rivendell, and Mirkwood. I love those sections. I like being like transported into these weird, creepy, fantastical places, and like, the mountain and like Smaug's den, on top of the treasure. That's all fantastical, but I don't know. Doesn't quite grab me as much as like the earlier stuff, even though it's all great. It was a weary journey, and a quiet and stealthy one. There was no laughter or song or sound of harps, and the pride and hopes which had stirred in their hearts at the singing of old songs by the lake died away to a plodding gloom. They knew that they were drawing near to the end of their journey, and that it might be a very horrible end. The land about them grew bleak and barren, though once, as Thorin told them, it had been green and fair. There was little grass, and before long there was neither bush nor tree, and only broken and blackened stumps to speak of ones long vanished. They were come to the desolation of the dragon, and they were coming at the waning of the year. Yeah, so, they just think and work on it for a while, trying to get into the mountain. Eventually do. And our burglar, our protagonist, is the one that is tasked with going first. Hey, Celestial Sage, what's going on? Absolutely adore this book. Easy top 5. Yeah? Welcome in. So glad to have you. It was great to reread it. I've read it a couple times, but I first read it in elementary school. I don't know about you. It was my first experience with anything related to Tolkien, like The Lord of the Rings. Like, at some point I saw, like, the Hobbit animated movie. But, like, for a long time, it was just this and that movie. And then, like, I didn't read The Lord of the Rings until the movies came out. I didn't even touch those books. I just read The Hobbit. I'm curious what else is in your top 5, though. We do a monthly book club. Last Sunday stream of every month. It's been a long while. We watched the movies first, I think. It was high school when I first read the book. Oh, hell yeah. Have you read other Tolkien books? And if you want to join in next month or just nominate a book, I have a wheel of books here. So everyone that participates or doesn't participate just like comes into the stream or is in the Discord server, which anyone hanging out right now that's interested in the book club, we have a channel for the book club in the Discord server where you can discuss throughout the month and then also put up books for the following month. But you can do it here today, anytime, until we're going to spin the wheel when we finish out the discussion here. Right now, we got to take the Hobbit off because that was Frederick's from last month. Watership Down was V Games. Mine was The Shadow of the Torturer. And Mr. Red Eye was Dracula. So anyone else that wants to put up any book, and if some of them don't come in, I'll just keep their same books on the wheel for another month because I haven't seen them this morning, and I don't think they put anything. I need to be checking. I'll check it again right before we spin, but I don't think there's anything in the channel that's been, added this morning. I've tried to read the main Lord of the Rings trilogy several times. I get so bored. Silmarillion was interesting, though. Interesting. I've never touched the Silmarillion, but I've been told it's, like, very dense. Not quite like footnotes, but just like, I don't know, like Lord of the Rings scripture almost. So it's interesting that one didn't, I'm not saying that it sounds boring, but yeah, I was just thinking, like, that surprises me, because and I don't know. Is there? It reads like the Bible. Yeah, that's kind of what I've heard. What do you think? Is there stuff in the Silmarillion in particular that really grabbed you? I'm curious. I want to read it one of these days. I just have never made time for it. It was at this point that Bilbo stopped. Going on from there was the bravest thing he ever did. The tremendous things that happened afterwards were as nothing compared to it. He fought the real battle in the tunnel alone before he ever saw the vast danger that lay in wait. I love that. I love that phrase, that phrasing there, and just like, yeah, that is choosing to step knowingly into the dragon's den. You don't even know what's coming your way. Like, that's the real deciding moment. Like, that's where he finds the depth of his like courage and heroic nature. And it's like that with a lot of things in life, right? Like just not even with like such intense or like heroic moments or moments of choice, but just like a lot of things, like choosing to travel, like the moment you decide to really go or something, right? Then it's just like, okay, I gotta like update my passport and pack my bags and figure out an itinerary. But like the moment you choose to do these things and like go out of your comfort zone and go on like adventure, whatever that is relative to your own life, like that's the big moment, the decision point. Pacing is very different, and I love the deep lore vibe of it, but it was chewy. Read it more in short bursts. I would imagine that's the way to go through that one. Yeah. Smaug lay with wings folded like an immeasurable bat, turned partly on one side, so that the Hobbit could see his underparts, and his long, pale belly crusted with gems and fragments of gold from his long lying on his costly bed. I love that image, too. Just his pale belly crusted with gems and fragments of gold, just lying on this mountain of treasure for years and years. Just a great image. Like, it encapsulates the greed of dragon. This is just a very funny line. It does not do to leave a live dragon out of your calculations if you live near him. That actually continues to be good. Right? Dragons may not have much real use for all their wealth, but they do know it to an ounce as a rule, especially after long possession, and Smaug was no exception. His rage passes description. Oh yeah, so like Bilbo like sneaks off with a cup, takes it back. And he notices. Smaug notices. His rage passes description, the sort of rage that is only seen when rich folk that have more than they can enjoy suddenly lose something that they have long had but have never before used or wanted. Awesome, awesome line. They debated long on what was to be done, but they could think of no way of getting rid of Smaug, which had always been a weak point in their plans, as Bilbo felt inclined to point out. This is not the first instance of this. Just like so many times during this adventure, they come to like this pivotal moment. It's like, how are we getting out of this? Like, I don't know. Burglar? Bill, what you got? Like, you guys didn't plan for this? Wait, what? What was your plan? What was your plan? There was a dragon at the end of all this. It's just like, yeah, well, just wing it when we get there. Pun not intended. We'll wing the dragon somehow. Now I'll make you an offer. I've got my ring and will creep down this very noon. Then if ever Smaug ought to be napping, and see what he is up to, perhaps something will turn up. Every worm has his weak spot, as my father used to say, though I'm sure it was not from personal experience. I think that's funny too. I love just that addition of, I'm sure it was not from personal experience. Like some of the phrases that get handed down, and just like you think back to like the Shire, and just like the quaint, uneventful existence of the hobbits in the Shire. So yeah, your dad, he picked that up somewhere, but he has no idea like the weight of that phrase or like what it's derived from. Like he might know the history of it, but he's never lived it. He just passes along the phrase in a different context, and I think that's very fun. Do you get that again? Like, just similar to the way that items and weapons and armors and all these mythical goods, like, might have vast, amazing histories and then end up in very random, out-of-the-way locations and get picked up by just a random person, you know? Things get handed down, things get passed around. Language, right? how it morphs and changes and just randomly ends up places. Could we add Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy book? Oh man, is that still on the screen? It is. I'm so sorry. That's obscuring the book. I'm not paying attention. But yes, absolutely. I'll do that now. We need to take the Hobbit off and Hitchhiker's Guide. Great choice. It would be very fun to follow this up because I was mentioning some of the places where it felt a little like you can't really feel like Douglas Adams because Tolkien is first, but like coming back to it, I guess, like after having read The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy in the intervening years, I'm noticing some of that whimsy in some of these like moments of like world building. Like Tolkien's is more like weighted, like you get the sense of like, yeah, he really developed this idea. Like he came to like the bit about the golf, like knocking the head into the hole, and like that was the game of golf. But there's also like more like anchoring that. There's more of a foundation there than anything in the Hitchhiker's Guide. But Hitchhiker's Guide is just like fun, right? It's not so serious, but there are moments where like the sense of whimsy is very similar. You will hardly believe it, but poor Bilbo was really taken aback. Taken aback by what? Let me get the context here. Oh, he's being taunted by Smaug, right? It's like, what are you going to do with all this treasure anyway? How are you going to get it back? What was your plan? What about delivery? What about cartage? What about armed guards and tolls? You will hardly believe it, but poor Bilbo was really very taken aback. So far, all his thoughts and energies had been concentrated on getting to the mountain and finding the entrance. He had never bothered to wonder how the treasure was to be removed. Certainly never how any part of it that might fall to his share was to be brought back all the way to Bag End under Hill. And just, again, what the fuck were you all thinking about? What is this journey? What is this adventure? No one thought about any of the most pivotal parts. Like, we make it to the dragon. How do we build the dragon? I don't know. All right, well, when we take out the dragon, somehow, and now have this mound of treasure, how are you getting that back? I don't know. No, we don't need to hear about Ka-chan skutta bento. Never laugh at live dragons, Bilbo, you fool. Oh, right, he foolishly taunts Smaug. I keep wanting to say taunts Smaug. Taunts Smaug. Tounce Smaug, a little too close to the dragon's den and almost gets burned. Never laugh at live dragons, Bilbo, you fool, he said to himself, and it became a favorite saying of his later and passed into a proverb. You aren't nearly through this adventure yet, he added, and that was pretty true as well. It's funny, like, we're getting the turn of, like, Bilbo to hero, and then, now he's like getting a little too big for his britches. Like, okay, now I'm like just taunting dragons. All right, settle down, buddy. You killed a spider. You figured out your way into here. Let's not get carried away. Maybe this has been sitting here for a minute. I'm sorry. I was thinking I'd read that comment. The Hobbit was so whimsical. The descriptiveness was efficient and evocative. I totally agree. We were talking earlier about how well-paced this book is. It just moves. Like, when I was rereading, I was like, whoa, we're already at Gollum? We're already here? We're already through Mirkwood. That's over. Wild. Like, it's just like event upon event. Yeah. Very, very satisfying. Like, it's a real page turner. And, but the sense of whimsy and a lot of this added to, like, just the narrative voice, too. It's constantly, like, just very conversational with the reader, which contributes to that. I really like it. It's a very different tone from the other books, at least the ones I've read. And that's why it just sort of stands on its own as like this other... I think that was one of the worst offenses of like the movie adaptations of this, which I never even saw all of them. I saw the first two and was so disinterested in seeing the third one. They tried to make it into Lord of the Rings. Like, I want to say I remember hearing that the original thought was to have... Guillermo del Toro do the adaptation of The Hobbit, and man, that would have been awesome. It would have been like a dark fairy tale. It would have been perfect. That's the movie I wish exists. Part of why I could never finish Lord of the Rings, it just makes me want to go back and reread The Hobbit. Yeah, it's really I kind of put it off a little bit because like I've read this book. I need to reread it to be fresh for the discussion because I've forgotten a lot. And it's not like I don't want to read it. It's just, you know, when you've read something already and there's like a lot of stuff you want to read and maybe you're just busy with life, like, okay, I gotta make some time for this. But then once I was in, it's like, man, like it's so fun to read. Dude, right, Del Toro is a master filmsmith, right? You just think about like his work, his body of work, and what he would have brought to The Hobbit. Like, oh my God, it would have been so good. It would have been so good. Like, Mirkwood would have been so creepy and weird. The spiders would have been gnarly. You know? Like, how, like, Smaug could have been so cool. Like, looked fine in the Hobbit movies. Like, it wasn't all bad. It was just like, man, this is so long and, like, they're so focused on setting up the Lord of the Rings. Like, how did they get a trilogy? Like, we keep talking about how much, how well paced this book is. Like, you tried to make this into 3 movies? What the hell? It's just standard. Yeah, nothing, like, no flourish of, like, true genius in like, texture, like, that you get in a Del Toro film, for sure. And you could lean into, like, what's scary about this story. You know, he would really pull that out so well. Because it's scary, you know? Like, it's not frightening, like, it's not horror, but there are scary events that transpire. Like, they are scary to our characters. Bilbo is frightened. You could really show his horror on the screen. High fantasy movie number 276. Yeah, what was that? Was it the Pale Orc? Is that what they called it? Like, that whole shit was just like, what are we doing here? What is this? Why? It looks like dog shit, first of all. Also, we just don't need it. We don't need all this. So yeah, hanging out with Smaug. They just barely, like, barricade themselves inside. They have to make the really tough decision to, like, close the door in on themselves so that Smaug can't, like, fly out and around and get at them from where they came in. And they don't want to do it because, like, they don't know the way out. It's like, if you do that, then the only way out is through the dragon's den. But they have to do it. Thankfully, eventually he flies off to destroy an entire town. They don't know that at the time. Eventually they get wise, like, I don't think he's down there. They go through, they get some treasure. Bilbo finds the Arkenstone. Meanwhile, Smaug gets felled. The information that Bilbo figured out, seeing the weak spot, gets transported, gets relayed by birds to Bard, and yeah, they take down the dragon. And that's an interesting way for the narrative to kind of shake out. Like, the whole book, we've had the specter of Smaug hanging over our party, and they get there, and they don't take him down. They don't deal with him. You know? Like, they put the pieces in place for him to be destroyed. But it's an interesting choice, and I still think it's very narratively satisfying because you get Bilbo confronting the dragon. Like, you get the peak of, like, his transformation into a hero. Like, that takes the depths of one's courage to go into a den, a little hobbit, and face a dragon. And then, like, yeah, in what story does the hobbit actually take down the dragon? You know, that might be pushing credulity. But the hobbit can, like, do what the hobbit has done all along, which is use his mind and his wits to find the way through the situation, and then sometimes lead other people to the answer and have them execute, because, again, he's physically only capable of so much. So I think it's very satisfying, even though it's, like, if you read it for the first time, it might be kind of, like, jarring, like, oh, wait, our heroes didn't take down the dragon that they've been, like, heading towards this whole time? I don't know. Maybe I had that bookmarked as just, like, that's where I left off one day. Yeah, and like I said before, like, most of the things that most interest me are in the first half of the book. This is all good. It's all great, satisfying narrative, but there's less. This is mostly just, like, narrative events transpiring, like taking down the dragon, the conflict between the men and the dwarves and the elves over the treasure, Thorin's greed, and then Bilbo taking the Arkenstone to, like, deal, like, he gives it away. That could be used as a bargaining chip. Thorin swears, like, vengeance, basically, or just says, like, I'm done with you, Bilbo, you know. But it turns out to be the right move. They all come together because goblins and wargs rush in We're still kind of like a little bit before that. Yeah, see, I don't have anything highlighted from this section because it's all just like action, you know? But they all come together. When it seems all is lost, the eagles swoop in. And once more, like this has happened a couple times now, like in a pivotal moment, like, oh my god, how does Bilbo get out of this? Like, he gets knocked out. The Battle of a Bajillion Leggies. There are a lot of legs, yeah. Yeah. And some talons. And some talons in the mix. Yeah. He gets knocked out and then wakes up and the battle's done. He survived. I mean, he had his ring on for it, right? He was just like trying to stay alive. There's even a line like, yeah, he can be invisible, but there are a lot of arrows flying around. It's not going to keep him safe from those. Yeah. And he's just in time. He gets the final scene with Thorin, right? Maybe we should read that. Because this is a good scene. So he's found, he pulls his ring off finally, and they're able to find him as he wakes up from being knocked out. And they bring him into the camp. There indeed lay Thorin Oakenshield, wounded with many wounds, and his rent armor and notched axe were cast upon the floor. He looked up as Bilbo came beside him. He had the best armor of all, though, plot armor. Mithril's pretty good, but plot armor, nothing protects like plot armor. Even the elves can't forge something that good. It's a good point. Farewell, good thief, he said. I go now to the halls of waiting to sit beside my fathers until the world is renewed. Since I leave now all gold and silver and go where it is of little worth, I wish to part in friendship from you, and I would take back my words and deeds at the gate. Do you think Sam was jealous of Frodo and Gollum's relationship? And that's why Sam threw Gollum in the lava? Yeah. Yeah. My Mr. Frodo is spoken for. My Mr. Frodo is spoken for. Find another precious. Frodo's my precious. I think you're right. But Emissary, we're not supposed to talk about that today. That's Lord of the Rings. This is The Hobbit. We're not there yet. Although, if you want to put the Lord of the Rings on the wheel, feel free. We can get there. Although, not all 3 books. That's a little much to ask for a single month of reading. But we can start with the Fellowship. Bilbo knelt on one knee, filled with sorrow. Farewell, King under the mountain, he said. This is a bitter adventure, if it must end so, and not a mountain of gold can amend it. Yet I am glad that I've shared in your perils. That has been more than any Baggins deserves. No, said Thorin. There is more in you of good than you know, child of the kindly West. Some courage and some wisdom blended in measure. If more of us valued food and cheer and song above hoarded gold, it would be a merrier world. But sad or merry, I must leave it now. Farewell. Okay, I know I had that highlighted because I really like that line. I wonder if this didn't update. Interesting. I don't know. Because I wasn't reading it here on my PC. Maybe it didn't sync from the device I was reading it on. Whatever the case, I really like that line. If more of us valued food and cheer and song above hoarded gold, it would be a merrier world. And that's it. Then we lose Thorin. Very sad. But he was kind of he was a real asshole at the end of it. And if it's not updating, like I've been just like skipping and then stopping when I see a highlighted portion. There was a bit like Gandalf is reprimanding Thorin. I don't even remember where exactly. It was probably back before the battle, I think. Just there's something that Gandalf says like about Thorin's greed and like his stubbornness to deal with any of the other interests, the elves and the men. And it just reminded me something in the phrase in there of like, oh yeah, it's basically the turn that Boromir has. Mild spoilers. 3, 2, 1 in the Fellowship of the Ring. Like Boromir is, a courageous character, and you don't get a whole lot of him, but he's just always like he's a reliable member of the party, of the Fellowship. You get little hints of things, like he says things along the way, but nothing major, until at the very end of that book or movie where he tries to take the ring from Frodo. and like he's overcome with desire, not greed really in that situation, but just like belief that he could wield the ring for his own purposes. And it's more justifiable, or like in Boromir's case, right? It like the ring has like these major effects on people. Thorn is mostly just like greed, but you get the sense again and again in these books of like the power that like treasure and wealth and these certain objects in the world, like the Arkenstone or whatever it is, like how easy it is for people to succumb to the desire of these physical goods. And sometimes it's more explained in the lore of the thing, like maybe it's the ring and it wields this immense power and influence, and maybe it's just like the beauty of the Arkenstone, which is not to be dismissed. Like some of the descriptions of that, maybe I should have highlighted those. Just gorgeous, like thousands of refractions of infinite like light and beauty in this stone. You can see why it's so compelling. But you might have this really courageous character that you've been on this whole journey with, and then you get to this moment of choice, and like he's just intransigent. Like, no, I'm not giving a single bit of this treasure away, even though like it's what you should do, it's what is right. Blinded by the desire. The narrow-minded drive that can bring mortals to great feats can also bring about terrible deeds. Yes, that is a great phrasing of that. Some of these, like, I am not a Tolkien scholar. I have not read most of his work, and I don't know that much about him personally, but like I think one of the things I remember hearing is that he didn't like allegory, and he did not like when people tried to link his fantasy to like real world like politics or events or worldview. It's like, I think I'm just writing fantasy here and making up languages and stuff. I think I have that right. Like all this stuff about like, is this related to the World War in our world? And no, it's not supposed to be. I'm not really sure. Can't say for certainty, but and yet. So like stuff like that. Like he's got that line earlier about like with Smaug. It's like Smaug. What was it? I just read it. Like the rage of that only you get with a wealthy person who has been hoarding this thing and never found need for it until it's gone. Little things like that make you wonder. Because he does have a strong, like, authorial voice. Oh, and then we're just at the end. Yeah. So, yeah. The dwarves take back over the mountain. Okay, yeah. I guess, like, all the things I highlighted in this last leg here are not showing up for whatever reason. Now I'm trying to find it, because there was one... It might be back... I don't know. It was way back before this. Before they've gone to Bjorn. They're still with the dwarves. They're talking about the dwarves, or maybe it is at the very end. Just a bit about like the dwarves like moving back in, and they're talking about Oh, is this it? No, wait, this is the Elven King. Very difficult for an artist not to imbue their art with the flavor of the things they hold dear. Yeah, that's a good point. Like, I want to say, again, like, I can't really say too much because I'm not well read enough on Tolkien and, like, his life events and all that. But my knee-jerk response to that is, like, he might not have intended it to be allegory, but he was definitely shaped by the world and events around him. How could you not be? And it came through in his art, even if he wasn't, like, consciously trying to put it there. You know? And I think most artists are that way. Here it is. Yeah, I think I had this highlighted. Upon his tomb, the Elven King then laid Orcrist, the elvish sword that had been taken from Thorn in captivity. It is said in songs that it gleamed ever in the dark if foes approached, and the fortress of the dwarves could not be taken by surprise. There Naldain, son of Nine, took up his abode, and he became king under the mountain, and in time many other dwarves gathered to his throne in the ancient halls. Of the 12 companions of Thorn, 10 remained. Fili and Kili had fallen defending him with shield and body, for he was their mother's elder brother. The others remained with Dain, for I think it's Dane. I don't know how to pronounce these. Dane. For Dane dealt his treasure well. Dwarves aren't a real kind of dwarf. That's true. Dwarves. The real ones are what? I mean, they're real, but I guess they're just like lesser down the hierarchy. A-warves, obviously, the originator and the best. B-warves, C-warves, you know. D-warves, yeah. I mean, they get a passing grade, but it's by the skin of their beards. Spoilers, 3, 2, 1. Slight spoilers. I think this is the only other connection I wanted to make. Nothing like major, just like little things that popped out at me. Like, this is very satisfying as a, like, an encapsulated tale. You know, like, oh, the dwarves got back. They lost some along the way, but they laid down Orcrist, and it always glowed, and, you know, they were never able to get surprise attacked. Funny story, you know, and then we just, like, we return, like in Lord of the Rings, right? We go back to these locations and find that this mountain has been overrun, right? Don't they come upon Thorin's tomb in Lord of the Rings? That's where they are when the goblins break in before they have the confrontation with the Balrog, right? Do I have that right? So it's just kind of sad to see, like, after like this entire adventure, to get them back there and to get them set up for success, and then just, like, you know, within a lifetime. Oh, is it Balins? Do I have this wrong then? Oh, am I wrong? Do they not come back through here in Lord of the Rings? It's been a while. That's where the annual drag race is. You got to drag race through it. Oh wait, that's Moria, right? Because Gimli was cousins with one of the party members. No, I'm totally wrong, right? That's right. They're in Moria. The Mines of Moria. How did I just mix those up? Well, adding to the fact that I'm not a Tolkien scholar, there's further evidence of that. Never mind. Spoiler redacted is not a spoiler. But imagine if it were. Imagine if I kept my mind straight. For some reason, I was thinking, like, I guess I was reading this. I was like, oh, wait. The tomb. They come upon a tomb, and Gimli is, like, distraught, right, in Lord of the Rings. Like, is this the tomb? Because no other dwarves have ever died and been entombed in the mines before, of course. It's just this one. Okay. Well, maybe I should put Lord of the Rings on the wheel. We should take another look at those. I need to read that in full. I'm trying to remember how far I got, but I did not get all the way through Return of the King in the books. Did the novel have a map in the front? I recall seeing a map. I think there's one here. Can I enlarge this? No, maybe not. I can do it this way, though. Get a little map action going on. Yeah, that fired up some neurons. Great maps. Love a good map. Anyone have a favorite fantasy map? Fantasy world map? I'm kind of partial to Narnia, just because I feel like as a kid, Narnia was my introduction to fantasy, I want to say. Like, it's the earliest fantasy books I can remember reading. I read them at a really young age. I had a full set of all those books, and they are, to this day, like, I wouldn't get that much out of them now, probably rereading them. I think they're still great, but I think, like, I got a lot out of this rereading The Hobbit. I would not have this much to say about a lot of those Narnia books, even though I love them. A lot of it is nostalgia, but they were very important books for me growing up. So just like, just like spending, you know, so long just like looking and poring over the maps in those books. And that's The Hobbit. Just like to encapsulate, we've been talking about how much of an asshole Gandalf is. Let's finish with his final line here. Oops. There we go. Then the prophecies of the old songs have turned out to be true after a fashion, said Bilbo. Of course, said Gandalf. And why should not they prove true? Surely you don't disbelieve the prophecies because you had a hand in bringing them about yourself. You don't really suppose, do you, that all your adventures and escapes were managed by mere luck just for your sole benefit? You are a very fine person, Mr. Baggins, and I'm very fond of you, but you are only quite a little fellow in a wide world after all. Thank goodness, said Bilbo, laughing, and handed him the tobacco jar. Like, if I just left everything I knew, went on my very first adventure, led this entire party of dwarves on a quest that I really had nothing to do with, right? I had no stake in this situation. I killed spiders. I ventured through Mirkwood on my own. I snuck around the cells and dungeons of like an elven fort. Rode down a river in a barrel. Wandered into a dragon's den. And then the wizard wants to tell me that, like, I don't know, like it's luck and prophecy. Like, fuck off. I did all that. I did that. Don't talk to me about prophecies and shit. I want you to, that's all me. That's all me. I had help along the way, and that was all them. There's no fate but what we make. But that's The Hobbit. And what a great book. What a fun reread. Thank you, Frederick, for putting it on the wheel again. Put it on the wheel again. It was the first time. Thank you again for putting it on the wheel, though, I guess I should say. Good stuff indeed. Yeah, anyone have any final thoughts? Otherwise, it's time to take official requests for the wheel, and we will spin it. I only like Lord of the Rings because it has elephants. Oh, yeah, is that why you're not a big fan of The Hobbit? There were no elephants here in The Hobbit, were there? But you get some elephants in Lord of the Rings. Some good elephants. They're big. They're imposing. Let's get the wheel up. Elephants, Mr. Frodo. All right, so the official picks on the wheel right now are The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy from Radiated Fishy, Dracula from Mr. Red Eye 75, The Shadow of the Torturer, the first in the series Book of the New Sun by Gene Wolfe, by yours truly, Watership Down by V Games. Anyone else have a book they want to throw on? Last call. Whether you read this month or not, you can throw one on there. All are welcome to participate. Elantris? Elantris? What is that? By Brandon Sanderson? Ooh, good pick. Okay. I don't know this one, though. The story follows three main characters, Prince Raudin of Arelon, Prince Serene of Teod, and Prince Rathin of Fjorden. Maybe I shouldn't read too much. I was hoping for just like a quick one sentence, like elevator pitch. I want to say I haven't read anything by Brandon Sanderson. I've only I'm aware of some aspects of some of his books. Like I've read essays about talking about some of the things in his books, some of the lore. That's always made me want to read it, but I haven't actually read anything from him specifically, I don't think. I'm trying to think of maybe a short story or something. I can't think of anything. But one of the things that always got me was Spren, I think it's called. I don't know which series this is a part of, or just maybe in all. I don't know how many of his novels are interrelated in the same universe, but just trying to remember exactly. Thinking through fantasy and medieval sort of technological ages and how people would understand the theory of bacteria in a more magical world. I thought that was really having things decompose because of rot spren and things like that was really interesting to me. Any other picks? Last call for books. Celestial Sage, if you want to add anything. Silent Shelf, if you're still hanging around. I'm trying to think who else has been in here this morning. Feel free. You can throw it on. Do you have a book pick? I got nothing. Okay. No worries. Just want to make sure everyone gets a pick on there if they want one. If not, without further ado, let's see what we're reading. Oh, wait. Okay. Dealing with Dragons by Patricia C. Reed is an easy, fun fantasy read and kicks off a real fun series. Otherwise, for more mature subjects, Aldous Huxley's Brave New World. Okay. Do you want to decide on one of those two? Or streamer's choice? I have not read Patricia C. Reed. I don't even know this author. I would love to learn something new. I have read Brave New World. It's been a while, so that would be a good reread. Kind of like The Hobbit. It would be interesting to return to that book with in 2025 mindset. 2025 me. Patricia C. Reed, Dealing with Dragons. A young adult fantasy novel. First book in the Enchanted Forest Chronicles series. The novel chronicles the adventures of the Princess Cimarine, who escapes her tediously ordinary family to become a dragon's princess. It received the 1991 Minnesota Book Award for Fantasy and Science Fiction. Nice. Good choice. Or maybe not choice? Let me get back to it. Oh. What am I doing? I left my own chat. Your choice, but I will be doing a Brave New World live read at some point in the future. Oh, really? I'd love to know more about that if you want to share some details. My choice, huh? Democracy? Should we have a pre-democracy democracy? Is that too much democracy? Can you have too much? Anyone want to second any one of those choices? Maybe we can do it really informally. No thanks. Anyone, given those two choices, want to pick one or the other? If not, I guess I'll choose. But is there one of those two books that anyone has more interest in reading? It's always good to get like a book that, you know, more people are interested in, so we get more participation, if possible. But if not, then I guess I'll choose. Let's try Dealing with Dragons. I've never read anything by this author. I would love to have a new experience. Okay. Last call. This is the official wheel. Dracula, Shadow of the Torturer, Watership Down, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Elantris, and Dealing with Dragons. Let's spin it. For the month of July, we are reading... Look at that. Dealing with Dragons. The universe is on your side, Celestial Sage. Well, dang, nice. Hacks. That's what you should expect when you're dealing with dragons. Let's hope it's good. Got some good picks on here. And maybe they'll be consistent. for next month. But you all are welcome to change them out at any time. You're also welcome to vote. We have 1 day remaining. You'll notice up at the top there, we have our fundraiser going, Medical Aid for Palestinians. We are currently at 250 pounds raised out of our 300-pound goal. We have hit some major goals along the way. Next weekend, Japan time, 9 a.m. Saturday morning, 12-hour Armored Core Gauntlet stream where you all get to choose my loadout, and I have to deal with that. Anti-July 4th. I guess like July 4th, anti-war stream, I should say. And then the following day, I think we're going to do it the following day. I need to figure out exact plans this week, but we also unlocked the Upside Down Goggles light gun game stream, which I think was going to be entirely on the Sega Saturn. PM, how you doing? Welcome. How's Halfling the book? We just finished discussing it. Had a good conversation about The Hobbit. Do you have any thoughts on the book? Feel free to share. But yeah, but we just spun the wheel. We're going to read Dealing with Dragons next month. Yeah, so Upside Down Goggles light gun games on the Sega Saturn. So House of the Dead, Virtual Cop, and some other deeper cuts that I'm excited to take a look at. Not really, never been my thing. Yeah, I get that. I loved rereading it. I have a lot of love for the book, but I kind of like everything, really, though. Like in terms of genre. What else we got? We got an art stream coming up. I'm going to wait until the fundraiser has ended because anyone who has donated to the fundraiser gets a chance to win an original piece of artwork, which I will make on stream and mail it to them if they so desire. They are allowed to choose the subject matter, which is why we're waiting. So I guess that'll probably be coming early August since we're running the fundraiser through July. But, sorry, this was a very tangential, like roundabout way of saying the other thing that is time sensitive is we are currently voting in a Discord server, but you can do it right here, right now, if you are not in my server or just want to tell me now. One of the goals, I'm trying to remember how many, was this 150 pounds? I have to start and continue playing an MMO. I have never played an MMO before. So the voting options are EverQuest, Final Fantasy XI, Phantasy Star Online, Star Wars The Old Republic, and World of Warcraft. We're doing ranked choice voting, so you can tell me your top 3. Your number 1 choice would get 3 points. Your number 2 choice would get 2 points. Your number 1 choice... I'm sorry, your number 3... Am I explaining this right? Number 1 is 3 points, number 2 is 2 points, and number 3 is 1 point. It's not that difficult, but I think I fucked it up. So, anyway. Descending order, descending weighted points. So you can pick 3 games. You can also just pick 1 if there's only 1 game you're interested in. Definitely encouraging anyone who wants to vote for Phantasy Star Online to vote for Phantasy Star Online because I'm putting my thumb on the scale a little bit. That's the one I want to play the most. So if you want to do a nice thing for me, you should vote for Phantasy Star Online because I really want to play that. But I'm going to be happy to play any of these. But I'd be very extra happy to play that one. And that's my pitch. Well, now Phantasy Star Online has my vote. Oh, really? Hey, Soft Doggo Raider, how you doing? Welcome. Is that an official? Is that official vote? Really? Hell yeah, you roll. Are you in the... You're in the Discord server, locking it in? Do you want to... You don't have to do this. I can do it for you, but just to keep anyone from... I imagine I might get called out for fuckery. That's the link to the channel in the Discord server. If you want to run over there and put it down officially, you can do that. Otherwise, I'll just transcribe it for you. But, hey, Celestial Sage, thanks for jumping in the server. Glad to have you. Welcome. Let me give you access. I'm behind any game that spells fantasy with a PH. You voted, right? I think you're in there. What was, yeah, PM, FF14, 11, but yes, EverQuest and then Star Wars, right? I did, yeah. Three, locking it in. Did I vote right? No, but that's okay. You could just, so if you scroll up a little bit, you'll see like the way that everyone else wrote it. So like your number one choice, number one game, number two game, number three game. You don't have to vote for 3 games, or you can be like Mr. Red Eye and just vote for the same game 3 times. That actually doesn't count. I mean, you could do that, but I'm not going to count it. And he knew that. He knew that. So you can just put as many games as you want out of like up to 3, and they'll be weighted. So the first number 1 pick game will get 3 points when we tally them all up. Your number 2 choice game will get 2 points. Your number 3rd choice game will get just 1 point. It allows people to, you know, like to get a sense of like games that people are interested in. Will you accept bribes in this poll? What are you trying to bribe me to do? Would have thought they would. Oh wait, 11 is a weird one. Their sub is split between the main do you have an account sub and the you have a character slot sub. Oh really? Would have thought they would have consolidated after a few years, but I guess it was too integrated into the code. Interesting. Okay, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of like obtuse archaic systems. It's kind of what I'm signing up for, potentially. Although it doesn't look like that one's doing so well. Right now it's really between Phantasy Star Online and World of Warcraft, I think. Although EverQuest is hanging in there. 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. EverQuest has 7, 8, 9, 10 from Emissary. Wait, is EverQuest winning? EverQuest might be winning, actually. I think right, because it's a lot of second, like people's second or third choice. EverQuest. It's only $12 at most. Yeah, I mean, like a lot of these things, like I did with the expectation that I'm going to be putting out money, like to mail someone artwork. Like, I'm going to pay the shipping for that. Some of these, like I just consider it part of like my contribution to the fundraiser. You know, helping make some of these donations happen. So I'm happy to pay for. All right, thank you, Soft Taco Raider, for voting. Thank you for those additional votes for Phantasy Star Online. I'm very excited about that. Again, I'd be excited about any of these, but most excited about that one. So now Phantasy Star Online is at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8, 9, 10. Oh, I think Phantasy Star Online and EverQuest are tied. You did vote. Yeah, you did. Well done. Thank you. Thank you for contributing. Oh, ads are here. They just kicked off without me realizing. Okay. I guess I'm down to play a little bit of video games. I was playing 2 a T. I wish I were more excited about continuing this game, but I'm hoping it gets a little bit better. I'm feeling a little bit better myself. I've been ill, but I think we're going to transition to video games after the break here. So I'm going to take a quick break while these ads are rolling, come back with the video game. So, see y'all in just a minute.